What's going on, you guys? It's Jumps here. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing great. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Check out my beat content and tutorials. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you're coming back for another video from a previous video, thanks for sticking around. I'm going to do a video today on making hi-hats interesting. I'm going to show you 3 methods that you can conventionally make them interesting, and then 3 unconventional methods that I don't really hear people doing in songs that really are really cool ideas to make hi-hats really interesting. People can get caught up in the generic flow of hi-hats and just think that adding more rhythms to them will make your hi-hats interesting, but here are some ways you can kind of rethink about hi-hat rhythms and approach your beats with a new perspective of this knowledge. So we're going to get right into it. What's going on, you guys? Here is just a sample beat that I have laid out. I just tracked out 8th note hi-hat rhythms. And what we're going to do is talk about different ways you can make these hi-hat patterns a little more interesting. I'm going to do the first 3 conventional ways that you can change them up, and then I'll go into 3 unconventional ways that will change the way you think about hi-hats. So first off, you can, number 1, you can change the rhythms within this pattern. So if you just lay out a track of 8th notes, that's what I normally do when I start off. I type on the keyboard just in time in the recorder, and then after that I go back in and add little embellishments on the grid, off the grid. So I normally start with doing 16th rhythms, so I'll do something like this or something like this. You can also go to Alt-U and chop it that way to make it a little bit faster if you highlight a note. Alt-U, and you can change the time mutation. Now that's already interesting. You could add them anywhere on the note scales too, so don't be afraid to change the pitches of these, make them go up and down. That's already a lot more interesting. You can also go into the triplet grid and add little triplet features. Something like that. There we go. Now that's already a lot better and makes it more interesting. Number 2 thing you can do to make your hi-hats interesting is adjust the velocities. So if you go down to control here, hit note velocity, and you can kind of draw in these waveforms here. The different strokes, the different intensities. Because if you're playing a hi-hat on a drum, it's going to be all over the place. You're never going to have that perfect velocity every single time. If you want to make swells, but like say with these notes, you can right click and then drag up to kind of like control the shape. You can go in here and hold shift, and that will level these off if you want these lower notes. And now that makes it a little more dynamic and interesting. Everything's not smacking in your face. The third thing you can do is go into control also and pan these notes. So you can just randomly go back and forth and pan them left and right like this. And you can see that it fills your ears a little bit more, your speakers, whatever you're listening on. Makes it a little more exciting because the mix isn't on the very center. And if you want to make it, go back and forth like this, you can do that. I like to alternate them. Something I do a lot of the times is I hit this settings button here and go to randomize. You can do Alt R, and then you can randomize both the velocities and the pans that you set and their magnitudes. And you can just hit a different seed to process whichever you like. I like to do some that are like symmetric on left to right with the pans, and then I'll go back in and make sure they're a little more symmetric randomly. I like to go out like maybe halfway, because then it frees up some room in the middle of the mix for where your snare is hitting, or some other percussion that you want in the very center. And say you want this to go left to right, you can do the same right click motion and do the same thing right to left. And grow it up. Something like that. That makes it really interesting and really dynamic. Okay, now that we have this better rhythm, I'm going to go into 3 unconventional ways you can edit these hi-hat rhythms to make them a bit more interesting than this. A lot of trap producers know how to do this. They know tripling underneath the regular hi-hat rhythms, but not many people really go beyond that. So what you could do is you can go into here again for the note fine pitch. And now you don't need to do a lot here. But if you go in here and you adjust these just a little bit, you can hear a difference. It makes it a little more lively. And you can also randomize this if you wanted to. I like to just draw it in because I don't like a lot of change in my hi-hats. You could bring it really high or really low. Just makes it a little more interesting. The number 2 unconventional thing you can do to make your hi-hats better is edit them in the mixer itself. So if I open up a mixer track, this is a plugin I'm going to show you guys, this patcher. It's linked to my hi-hat rhythm, so I'm just going to leave this on with a snare, and I'm going to turn this on. This is a patcher preset. If you open patcher, it's a way that you can connect different plugins together and kind of route them on a similar surface. This is a preset that's made from a company called Wise Labs. You can see it's a lot of mess. So this is what it turns out to be in the very end. But this is, if you go into presets, you go to Wise Labs, and then you go to multi-sequencer. And then here it's kind of like an Effectrix, its own native FL Effectrix. So you can click on these and change the timings of these effects. So if you want filters, distortions, detunes, whatever you want, you can go in here and add them to the hi-hats. On the right side here, this is the harmonic that you affect, and this is the special effect you alter for each plugin. So phaser, you're altering the frequency; filter, you're altering the resonance; distortion, it goes on and on. Detune, the timing with the delay. So I'm just going to click on some things here and see how it sounds. Add a delay. I think that sounds really cool. I'm going to go into phaser and do something randomly. Alter the frequency. And these knobs at the top affect each channel. So if you don't want it affected on this, you say you only want the delay here, you do like that, but it does affect all of the different effects along this vertical column. So just be aware of that. This filter you can add in something like this to start. A lot of this is just trial and error. Yeah, these become an offset if you just do a distortion like this. Just to make it obvious, I'm going to do all 4 of these. That's affecting all 4 of these on time. If you do it like this, it's a little bit delayed. I like it right on. I'm going to go back and do this. You get the point. You can also detune here too and choose the depth of the detune. Now this already sounds really interesting. If you're trying to go for some hybrid music or psychedelic trap or anything like that, Travis Scott type beats, these would be really cool tools that you can use inside Patcher. It just adds a whole new element and you barely changed anything. The third unconventional tip that I have for making hi-hats more interesting is going into another plugin called Vocodex. This is an FL Native plugin, and what you can do is, this is normally used to get like that death punk kind of tone, where it's like kind of auto-tuned, but it's more melodic. Vocoders are, you can buy them in like Korgs, for example. They come with tubes, talk boxes, things like that. What I like to do is use weird plugins for weird things. So I'm going to use Vocodex on the hi-hat patterns to kind of show how just going through presets in the Vocodex can really change your hi-hats. So this gives a tinny sound. You can go in here and make it either more feminine, which will shift it up in frequency, or more masculine. You can add the number of voices with unison. And then these just shift the different bands. So what I like to do is I like to go into presets, go into, something like this. So let's start with chord. And just alter things. See, these are already really cool tones. I'm going to go through some more presets. Let's go into here. Let's go to droplets. This is cool. This could be really cool for percussion if you wanted to add some percussion layers that are kind of grimy or dirty. Let's see what's next. Some reverb effects. So there's so many presets you can use for this and make your hi-hats sound really, really weird. And I think when you go through this stuff, you can really bump your hi-hat level up to the next level. These are just a few examples of some different ideas you can use to make your hi-hat patterns a lot more interesting in unconventional ways. That's already very interesting, and it's more melodic than just regular hi-hats. So I hope you found this video interesting. I hope you take some of these tips and apply them to your own beats. I love using this kind of stuff because I like thinking out of the box, thinking, how do I take something generic and make it more interesting? And these are just a couple ways you can do it. Let me know if you find any other cool ways to make these hi-hat patterns pop out more, have a different kind of style to them. Please, like I said, follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Stay tuned for more content on YouTube with beat uploads, with beat tutorials, with beat making videos. And until next time, peace.